Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey guys, brand new podcast.
Hey, wait a minute. It's my podcast.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Enjoy. Oh, don't worry. The gardener will be here any minute. I've been waiting on him so I could tell him
sniffling in the microphone. So
I need to talk to him. He cut down. I had him. We had this tree in our front yard that was sick. It was a big palm tree. The palm tree's like 80 years old. It was, I think, 90 feet tall. And
on the side of your yard? The one
no, right in front of my house. It was growing up right in the front of my house, right? So months ago, I had the gardener trim all the palm fronds. And when he came down, he said, that tree is really sick. You can tell because the bark is kind of just falling off of it. So he said, at some point, you're going to need to cut that tree down because it's going to just continue to get more and more sick. And he's like, it's not right away, but at some point. So last week he said, I have a crew available. I can cut this tree down. And I was like, let me talk to Bert about it. So we were out of town this past weekend. He said he texted me and said, I got that crew ready. Do you want me to cut your tree down? And I was like, okay. And he said, now I won't remove the stump. You'll have to get someone else to remove the stump. But he's giving me a good price. So I was like, okay, how much more could it be to remove the stump? Not that much more. Let's just get it down. Have you seen it?
I didn't notice.
He left
terrible. Now I feel bad.
It's like 3.5 feet tall. He left. He didn't leave a stump. He left like half a tree. It's like 3.5 feet tall. And I was like, what the fuck did you do that for? That's the stupidest looking thing. It's like half the height of my house. So you walk up and it is in the middle of the front of my house. I was like, at least you could have cut it like at ground level, or even if you knew they were going to remove the stump, yes. But it's a palm tree stump. They don't really have like roots like regular trees. They have like fingers. So it's not super hard to remove it anyway. It's like a big bulb.
Right, but a stump is like this big. You have like 12 inches sticking out of the ground.
No. It's at like waist high on me. So I've been waiting. The gardener is usually here at like 9 and then of course blows our backyard last. So I've been waiting for him, one, to say, go blow our backyard before we start recording this podcast. And two, what the fuck with my tree? I mean, I was like, really? Did your chainsaw get dull and you just quit? Could you have texted me so I didn't come home and go, there's half a tree? It's half a tree. It is the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen.
Well, it doesn't look that bad because neither of us noticed it.
Well, then you are too self-involved, both of you, to have not noticed my plight. My tree trauma in the front yard. Literally, I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, you can't landscape around it. You can't, it's ridiculous. So I'm going to call the stump people. I should have. I'm really, here's something that I can improve on, okay? I have a hard time with people who work for me regularly, like a gardener or a house cleaner. I have a really hard time saying no to them. Because they're in my house, because they have codes to my backyard, that because they are part of my team, I have a hard time saying, I don't want you to trim that. I don't want you to take that tree down. I actually want the guys who took the tree down in my backyard to take the tree down because they did an excellent job. Oh, not only did he leave half a tree, there are these huge spots in my front yard where he clearly just let the tree fucking fall. So I have these indented places in my yard. I'm like, how are you planning on fixing that? Are you going to fill it up with dirt and then seed it? You're not leaving it like that. It's not going to be like you fall in it. It's a hole.
Oh my God.
It's like the size of a body. Like if you dropped body parts.
He's clearly a gardener, not a tree trimmer.
He is.
They're very different things.
Yeah, clearly. So, and I knew that. I actually did know that. And I actually thought to myself, I should have the other guys do it. And I didn't want to upset him.
Right.
Because it's extra money for him. And how hard is it really to cut a tree down? You just chop the top off, lower it down, chop the top off, lower it down. Yeah. But clearly it's a challenge for this guy who can't listen to me when I say, can you blow my backyard first? And still doesn't. But can I fire him? No. Same as the person that cleans my house, who does the worst job. She comes one day a week just to help me. I clean my own house and I do my own laundry. She just helps me with the heavy duty cleaning because I need a little bit of help. So I don't want anybody listening to think I have like a maid. I do not. I have a lady who comes 1 day a week for 6 hours and just does the bathrooms, the kitchen, mops the floors, vacuums, like dusts. That's what she does, right? She sucks at it. She fucking sucks. When she cleans the bathroom, she doesn't move anything on the counter. Nor does she wipe down what's on top of the counter. So she wipes down around everything. Like I've been testing her. I do this from time to time just to make myself angry. I have a rechargeable toothbrush. The charging station is a glass. It looks like a glass and it sits on like an electric thing. So you just sit your toothbrush in the glass. There's toothpaste on that glass. For 3 months, that toothpaste has been on that glass. It has never been cleaned. And I asked her to deep clean the bathroom. Will you deep clean the bathroom? Just skip George and Isla's room and really deep clean the bathrooms. Toothpaste is still on that glass. Now, I ask you ladies, is that okay?
Yeah, that is...
It's not okay.
No. But I hear you. When you're in a relationship with somebody,
Right.
I think it's hard. Like I hear
It's really
people
hard to fire somebody like that.
It is.
Because you know them personally, you know their life.
Yep.
You feel bad. You know you're their source of income.
Yep.
Or part of it, you
and
know.
you
like,
know that people are fallible. You're like, okay, there was toothpaste on there. People make mistakes. She didn't notice it. But 3 months later, it's not just, I mean.
She just is shitty cleaner.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I would trust her. I would give her all of my jewelry and trust her not. She would not steal anything out of my house. Mm-hmm. She would not take $1 out of the washer. Like if she sees $1 in the washer, she's the most trustworthy person. So that's why that's one of the main reasons I haven't let her go, because I go to find another person I feel that safe with in my house would be kind of hard. She's really religious. She's a really good human being. And I've tried to teach her how to clean, and she will not listen. She will not do it the way I ask her to. She just goes right back to the way she does it. She'll do it like once, maybe twice, and then she forgets or something and goes, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just slapped in the face with inadequacies, incompetencies, and half a tree in my front yard. The tragedy of it all. Such white people problems, right? It's terrible.
Yeah, right.
So the three of us did a live podcast on Saturday. So I wanted us to reconvene and discuss our live podcast, and then do a podcast about the live, our topic in the live podcast, because it was very short and sweet. It's called the
very
podcast.
short.
It was very short.
Yes, it was like escorted off
It was
stage.
allegedly 15 minutes, but it felt like it was maybe
4.
Yeah, 8.
Maybe 8. I'm being generous. Maybe 8. It's called The Podcast Party. I'm not sure when it's going to be released. It will be on YouTube, I think, at some point. It's produced by a young man named Will Hagel, and he was really nice.
Oh, really cute.
was
He's a really sweet guy.
He was.
Yeah.
He was very so.
I wish I knew somebody in his age range to set him up with.
No, he was adorable. He could have been all of our sons.
Yes, that was really, I mean, that shook
Eye-opening.
me. This weekend, that shook me. I thought, oh my God, we are old enough to have actual adult children. Like actual adults who pay their own bills. Like, and
Who
live in their
produce
own homes. And
shows.
Yes,
Yeah.
who produce shows. Oh my God.
That's terrifying.
That was really shocking.
Right.
It is a kind of a rude awakening, isn't it? But he was really nice. He was actually a really big fan of this podcast, which I thought was really fascinating, because, you know, I read the comments and I see who subscribes on YouTube, and I'm always so surprised how many men listen. I'm really excited and happy about that. I thought it would be all women and women only, but I think it's really cool that men want to eavesdrop on middle-aged women's conversations about whatever.
Their mom's conversation
about half trees and shitty house cleaners, and but that's kind of cool. I wonder if it makes some of them feel closer to their mom, or I know a lot of them say it gives me a better perspective on my wife. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a public service, ladies. We're doing a public service. So at the podcast party, I had planned on us talking about jobs, because I wanted to kind of be prepared. I didn't want us to show up and just go, so anyway, Cathy? And Cathy goes, so anyway, Kirsten? So anyway. Well, first of all, how'd you feel about it? about the live podcast?
Before or after?
Any of it.
Before, I was terrified.
Were you?
Oh my God. The last thing I ever want to do is be in front of people. Like on a stage. That's terrifying. Now, granted, this may not have been a stage per se.
It was sort of a stage.
It was a stage. But yeah, oh no, I did not want to do that at all.
Well, you did great.
It was fine.
It was good. It was good. I couldn't tell that you were scared. You hit it well.
I think once I got there and realized, I was like, oh, maybe this is not what my UCLA envision had or whatever it was.
No, I was saying to them backstage in my brain when Will emailed me, hey, we have this live podcast party where have all these podcasts come and do 15 minutes. My brain went, UCLA auditorium, packed house, screaming fans. And when we got there were 15 people maybe in the audience, maybe 15, and like a 25 seat theater.
The entire theater had 25 seats.
Maybe 25.
Yeah.
That's if people are sitting on the stairs. It was tiny. So my brain was like, UCLA, this is going to be amazing. Almost Madison Square Garden. Next step, Madison Square Garden. So it was much smaller scale than my imagination had prepared me for. How'd you feel about it, Kirsten?
I felt fine. I was a little nervous just because I didn't know what to expect. But then when we walked in and it was a theater that I've actually done plays in and had acting class in 100 years ago, I wasn't as nervous. But then when we heard that some of the other podcasts had graphics and like they had costumes and stuff, and we were like, oh my God, costumes. Like we're just dressed like a night out. Like it was just 3 middle-aged ladies night out. And yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop. I thought, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into? Like we don't have anything. It's just the 3 of us talking. And then when it happened, it was so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no way that was 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was really fast.
I'm going to be fascinated to I'm going to watch it on YouTube and time our section because I swear that
we were gypped.
They were probably just like, well, where are the costumes? Where are the graphics? Like,
I think the audience liked it because we were backstage and he said, next up, blah, 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 wife of the party. And 2 people went, woohoo! 2 whole people.
Right, but out of 15, that's almost, that's a pretty good percentage.
It is. It's a pretty good percentage. So we're sitting backstage. Okay, the backstage area is outside and it's basically an enclosed alley. Like there's sunshades over the roof.
It's not basically, it's 100% an enclosed alley.
It's an alley that's been closed off.
Isn't it enclosed in? Couldn't you get out through the end?
I think you could, but you probably couldn't get in through the end.
Oh, okay.
So it was secured, put it that way. So we're all 3 sitting there on a bench, and this young man comes out of a door with a suitcase, and he's got headphones on, and he's acting bananas, would you say?
Bananas.
And I'm watching him like, is that a homeless person that has wandered into the theater and has walked back here?
Yeah, he was pacing, shaking his head, muttering to himself, just sort of gesticulating and
very kind of homeless person-y.
Yes.
Very mental ill. And I was watching him, and Cathy and Kirsten were watching him. At one point he goes over onto a stoop and starts pushing on the bricks on the wall like he's dialing a phone number or something. And I was like, he's definitely a homeless person, 100% homeless person. So we're sitting there with our purses clutched. All 3 of us have our purses clutched to our chest, right? And I go, I don't know if we should leave our purses in the green room. I mean, that guy can totally get in the green room. And he's pacing back and forth. And then someone comes out of the theater and starts talking to him. And then they start doing this mirror exercise. And Kirsten goes, oh, he's Meisner. He's totally fine. He was doing a Meisner exercise, Meisner acting. Meisner is a theory or a theory of
a school
of acting that's taught in New York and I guess in LA too. And they do this specific exercise that Kirsten recognized as a Meisner exercise. So we're like, okay, we're good. We can leave our purses in the green room now. So we're sitting there going, are we really going to walk on stage with our purses? I mean, how middle-aged can we look?
And not to mention, we are the only females there.
Yes.
And clearly the oldest people by far.
By like 20
there.
years.
Like every other podcaster really could have been our child. And they were all male.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really disconcerting.
And some of them were dressed as like the Hamburglar. Somebody
And
was
like
dressed
Super
as
Mario.
It was so confusing. I felt really out of place.
Those guys in the suits that had like a script prepared, I was like, holy shit, we did not know what we were getting into.
No, I know the
right?
three-piece suits, and
Yeah.
I thought this is not our demographic.
This is not. I felt the same way. This is not. Why are we here? But Will kind of explained it. He was like, I just love your podcast so much, and I just think more people should see it. And I want the exposure. It was really sweet.
And he said he thought his mom would
Right, and then
would
he
like
invited
it.
his mom because he thought she would like it.
His mom was in the audience trying to convince her. He was trying to get his mom into podcasts. So we're the gateway, I
The
guess.
gateway drug.
funny.
Yeah.
Gateway podcast for mom. Mother Hagel.
Oh, man.
Oh, it was an experience.
It
Yeah.
was very
Good for him. He's young and he's doing this. It's really impressive that this is an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Andy Paytas,
Yeah.
which was really
right?
sweet. I don't know how much he charged those 15 people. $100 each. I mean, it had to be a premium ticket. You know? That was really cool, though. That was really cool. So
It
thank
was
you
very
very
fun.
much.
Yes.
Thank you for being brave and braving the wilderness.
it was fun. It was a singular experience.
Next stop,
very
UCLA
fun.
Auditorium. Next stop, ladies. Can only go up from here.
With the Hamburglar in tow.
Hamburglar in tow. Oh, it was the Hamburglar, and who else was back there? Ronald McDonald,
Yeah.
Hamburglar.
Mario.
What was the girl's name in the hamburger, the McDonald's? Remember the girl that had
yeah.
red? She was there too.
Oh, I didn't see her.
No Grimace.
No Grimace.
Grimace was missing in action. Maybe he was on stage with the guy putting the phone numbers into the brick wall.
Uh-huh.
That guy
Maybe they were calling the Grimace.
Yeah, right? Maybe.
You're late. Get here now.
That's why he was so agitated.
He had Grimace chopped in pieces in the suitcase. Oh
my
He
God.
was calling.
Seriously, when
I thought
I
that
saw that
guy
suitcase,
was-
I was
yeah.
like, "What's in the suitcase?"
I was
Like, it was like Pulp Fiction.
It was.
Yes, it
Like,
was.
ooh.
It was very bizarre. Well, I hope his mirror exercise helped him out.
Yeah. We're probably going to watch this and be like, "Oh my God, he's a genius. He's a comic genius."
Wait,
or
was
he's
he?
like,
I don't think
No,
he was
he was
on there.
in a different
He was in a
theater.
different
He was
theater.
He was coming in and out of a different back door. There was like 3 back doors in this alley. He was coming in and out of the other back door. So he wasn't involved in our podcasting stuff. I think the Hamburglar was.
I think so too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he and Mario was.
Yeah.
And 3-piece suit guys.
yeah, we're really selling this. Basically, you should definitely listen to or watch the podcast party because
I'm curious
watch
because
it.
I want to know what
Seriously.
the other podcasters were.
No,
We didn't
absolutely.
hear anything from back
I'm 100%
there.
going to watch
So
it.
I have
Yeah.
no clue. What did Ronald McDonald talk about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Now watch, none of these people will be on this podcast. They were like the interim in-between act, right? To warm up the audience, whatever those people are called. They won't even be on it. People listening to this will go, those bitches are crazy. They don't know what they're talking about.
The guy with a suitcase is delivering like a Shakespearean monologue or something, and
He's doing a Willy Loman from
totally,
Death of a Salesman.
that's a suitcase.
It's a suitcase, right? That would work. Okay, so
Yeah,
on that
that was
podcast,
funny.
we talked about jobs that we'd had in the past. So we had started, but we kind of have to start over because, by the way, Bert, of course, the next day I drove up and met them when we were out of town. He took the girls out of town the night before, and I showed up Saturday after this live podcast we did, and I was telling him about your job, Kirsten. He was so fascinated. He was like, what is she talking about? So now you have to kind of start
Yeah.
over and tell us about this job you talked about on this podcast. It is a kind of a crazy job.
Yeah.
So do you mind retelling?
Sure. Okay, so my craziest job was as a standardized patient for USC Med School. And a standardized patient is they hire actors to play patients to both train future doctors and also to test them. So I I think they actually probably hire people to like do physical exams. They must. I mean, if they're hiring actors to do this other stuff. But I wasn't a part of any physical exams. It was one that was about pain. So it was, I think I had peritonitis.
Oh, what is that?
What the diagnosis is. The peritoneal area is if you say stomach, like that's your stomach. Like, so
Right.
If, people say tummy, stomach, like all these different things, abdomen, it's the peritoneal area is this cavity.
The cavity.
I believe. I don't know. And now we're going to get med students like calling in and
The peritoneal
writing in
actually
and
is in your
saying,
toenail.
This
Oh,
woman
sorry.
knows nothing. I was an actor. I mean, I know nothing. But yeah, so that was about pain, extreme pain. I came in extreme pain, crying, and so they had to diagnose by not even barely being able to touch me. I think they touch my tummy like through clothes or through maybe I was in a gown, but like with clothes, it was fully clothed. That was because a lot of them are really brilliant on paper,
right?
But when they're dealing with a crying person, are just don't know what to do, and
Right.
they don't know what to ask the right questions, and also diagnose. I'm sure you've all seen in life, just seeing different doctors, that some are not good diagnosticians. They may be good in other areas, but there are so many things. I mean, you could have a cough, and it could be anything from allergies to a common cold to AIDS,
right?
And likewise with any pain in your body, and So that was interesting. Just seeing who would just jump to like, oh, you have appendicitis. I was like, inside I'm thinking, not appendicitis. I know what I have, but
I don't know what this shit is, but it's not that.
Yeah. So this was in a testing situation. So they would leave the room, and I'd like underneath my pillow, I'd pull out a checklist and have to, circling like bedside manner. Did they ask questions? Did you feel listened to? Did you feel all that kind of stuff, sort of like the soft skills of being a doctor. But my most interesting character, and I think the one that's the most fascinating to me, was as the seductive patient.
Which I think is so hysterical.
I think it's hysterical that they thought of this and
Right?
created this test.
But hey, I have to tell you, my mother used to say to me, I got an appointment with a gynecologist today. Can't wait for that. Totally getting my rocks off. And I'm like,
Ew.
what?
Oh my
That's weird.
Oh my God.
So I think that seductive patient actually
Wowza.
maybe exists.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it does.
Or-
But
or
like
the
to the
gold
degree
digger.
where they have to
Yes,
for it. Actually, yeah.
train for it. So
That's crazy.
this was in a training situation where they'd have about a dozen doctors in the room with their teacher, and they'd have me sitting in a seat. And the point of it wasn't to seduce necessarily; it was to break boundaries. So with women, I wasn't necessarily coming on to them. It was more like, sometimes it was trying to get them to be my best friend, or like, trying to break a barrier about like, oh, you're interested in that? We should see a movie together sometime, or
got
that
it.
kind of stuff. But sometimes it was sexual, and I'd just, like remove an eyelash from under their eye. Like, oh, sorry, you have a smudge of makeup, and like touch them and just sort of invade their space.
Right.
Wait, people were watching while you did this?
Yes.
Creepy.
Yes. So
That's
there was
weird.
the rest of them, they were sitting there in a classroom situation, and I would be sitting here in a chair, and there's one other chair, and the teacher would send different people to the hot seat, and there was some sort of a cue where I'd have to put my head down like a puppet or something, like a puppet that wasn't being used, while they talked about what just happened. And sometimes that would be when the doctor student was still there, and sometimes it was when they were switching out, and she was saying, oh, David, you go up there, we're going to switch out. And then as soon as there was somebody seated next to me, I could pop my head up and I'd say, hey, and he'd say, what?
Bizarre. How bizarre.
So weird,
It
right?
was so bizarre.
It was very bizarre. And I would inch my chair a little closer. I'd talk about problems with my boyfriend, and I'd talk about not feeling very sexy, and
Let the
gained
strap
a little
of
bit
your
of
bra
weight.
fall off.
Yeah, gained a little weight. It seems it's uncomfortable. It's like, when you gain weight, just be, do things that were inappropriate, but not crazy. The point was not crazy, like
Not mentally
not
unstable.
like going to grab their crotch or something.
right.
Not, but just things that maybe made them uncomfortable and broke their boundaries, sort of like, and it was really interesting because we had, like, there were a lot who, again, were probably very good textbook, but weren't as good in interpersonal relations. They would just say, back off, give me my space.
Oh my God.
And the teacher would stop them and go, wow, did you see how you just shut her down? And I was supposed to, just react like a normal person would react. And I'd be, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I didn't mean to invade your space. I'm a touchy person. I would never mean to do that. But also really shut down so that they would, not get as much out of me. So then they'd start asking me questions and about what brings you here. And it would just be one word answers. No, I'm fine. It's actually okay.
Right.
It doesn't hurt that bad. Yeah. So, and the teacher would talk to them about how, when I do different things where they go, well, I did that because she was acting crazy. Well, maybe she is mentally ill. Maybe that's why this patient came to see you. Did you ever think of that? Like, because patients come, if somebody comes with a cough, it could be about an actual cough. It could be because they're lonely.
Right.
It could be because their mom just died and don't know how to get mental health help, or
right.
So she would talk them through all of that. And but I did have the one that I talked about in the podcast was there was one doctor that sat down, Dr. Josh, and I had my head down, and when I popped my head up, we looked into each other's eyes, and it was like, wow. There was a moment, like there was definitely a moment, and I was able to get away with a lot with him, and I inched my chair like a little closer all the time, and we talked and talked and talked, and all of a sudden it was like, stop, and I popped my head down, and the teacher said, Josh, what are you doing? She has her hand on your thigh.
Oh my God. Did you know you had your hand on his thigh?
I did. I mean,
oh my God. I didn't know if you just got carried away.
I was doing a job, but he was very cute. And yeah, there was just like a little sparkle. There was a connection. There was something. And and he's like, he was very flustered and was like, she's pretty and I think I like her. And
oh my God.
Like, oh my God, you're a doctor. Shut it down.
Fail.
Right?
Yeah. You failure.
Yes.
Mission abort.
Yes.
And then what happened?
So he eventually he tracked down the director of the program, and asked for my number.
Oh, that's so crazy.
And she said, absolutely not. This is 100% inappropriate. This is the whole reason we do these exercises, is to ferret people like you out of the system.
Oh my God.
And he said, no, it's not. I've never felt like this before. I just, I looked into her eyes. I had a connection. And so they brought me into the office one day and said, we need to talk to you about something that's happened. And I was like, oh my God, what, has someone died?
Right.
What's happened? They said, no, there was this one doctor who just did not get it. And, this is why we teach these things to begin with. We explained, you are an actress. You had no interest in him.
And you were like, time out.
Yes.
Actually, time out.
I was sitting there thinking, how badly do I need this job?
Right.
But it paid really well. It's a really good job. It's a great job to have as an actor. 'Cause you get to act. You do really get to act. And, but
crazy. I had no idea a job like that existed.
Yeah,
I bet
know,
there are
right?
so many jobs like that we don't even know exist.
Oh, totally. I want to know about all of those jobs that we don't know exist.
Yeah, me too.
It was a great job for a million reasons. I mean, because it paid well, because it was interesting, because it was actually in my field. But also, I became a better patient from it.
Oh, I would imagine.
I became a way better patient. Not that I was breaking boundaries with anybody, but just in knowing to...
how to talk to a doctor.
Knowing how to, and not assuming that the doctor has all the answers, that I'm going to walk in and say, my tummy hurts, and they're going to know.
Right.
To really take more note of my symptoms and when they happen, and to just not assume anything.
Well, it's so true, because when my dad goes to the doctor, or when I take my kids to the doctor, how are you feeling today? I took Isla one. She was like, I'm okay. I'm like, you have a fucking fever. You're not okay.
Totally. I do
So
that all the
can
time
we-
at the doctor. Yeah.
You have to say everything. Well, my throat hurts, and you're also congested, and you've also had a fever for 12 hours, and you've also done this, and you also have that. You have to tell them everything. But for most people, I wonder why it's not more innate to say, well, I need to tell you everything that's going on for me. I don't know if you get nervous when the doctor shows up, of what happens for people. I don't get nervous. I feel like I overtell.
Or you don't want to complain.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a polite
Yeah.
situation.
Right.
But also, it's like there's the respect of that expert that you just think, oh, okay, the expert's in the room. They're going to sort this out.
That maybe, and maybe I wonder if you don't, I guess for me, I would always think, well, I don't want to waste their time. I don't
Right,
want to waste
yeah.
their time jabbering. But at the same time, if they don't have all the information, they can't help you appropriately. They can only help
Absolutely.
you for what you give to them. I feel that way about teachers too. I had to meet with Isla's teacher this morning, and I felt myself getting really nervous. And I thought, it's a knee-jerk reaction because a teacher is an authority figure as a child for how many years?
Right.
And now he's not my authority figure, but I still feel like I'm going to the principal's office. I'm in trouble for something just to say, hey, my daughter's dyslexic. Do you have any videos she could watch about the fall of the Roman Empire? We'll read the book too, but videos would be helpful for her. I was still like, oh my God, I got to go talk to the teacher.
No, I'm still that way.
Yeah.
When people at school refer to the principal by her first name, I'm like, no, it's Mrs. So-and-so. Like,
Well, yeah, I do that too. Yeah, it's Mr.
yeah.
I have no idea what his first name is. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's that way for doctors too. That's a really cool job. I wonder what other kind of crazy jobs. Do you know of any other crazy jobs that you didn't do but you know of? Like,
That's so funny that you say that, because I feel like I just had a conversation where I was like, who even knew that job existed? Like, and I don't remember what it was, but I
Right.
feel like that's happened recently where I'm like, how does that even come to be?
Yeah, I
you
don't
know what I
know.
mean? Like, there's all this random stuff that people do.
right. But nowadays, I guess you can have any job you want. Really, you can
Probably.
create whatever universe you want as long as I guess you make money at it. As you can sustain
Yeah,
a life.
theoretically.
Theoretically, like we were talking about after the podcast, we went to a bar. We were talking about this website called Teachers Paying Teachers. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Where there are lots of graphics and lesson plans and stuff you can download for really very little money. So it's like you said, it's a side hustle where the teacher is making $5 from me to gladly pay $5 for a set of graphics that I can print out and use in my Girl Scout troop. Where she's making money is such a win-win. There's so many jobs like that nowadays where maybe there's not their only job. Kirsten recommended this podcast called, what was it called? Side Hustle School.
Yeah.
I listened to a couple of episodes. They're really short, like 10, 12, 15-minute episodes about people's side hustles. And none of them, I don't think any of them that I listened to, I didn't listen to many, none of them were their primary source of income. They were truly a side hustle. But if a side hustle makes you $30,000, that's a lot.
Absolutely.
That's a
Even
lot.
if you're happy doing it.
If something you love, right?
And, that helps a lot too, I think, whether it makes you a ton of money or not.
Yeah. I was someone commented on YouTube that we were talking about in the several episodes, not only with you but with Margaret and Cathy Reisinger, about what do we do now that our kids are older? What career do we have now? And this woman emailed and she said, you guys don't ever talk about the people who just want a job. They just want a job that pays their bills, that they just go to their job and they go home. And I thought, we haven't talked about that at all. But there are people who just want to go to work and go home. I remember working in an office in New York when I lived in New York. And there were several employees who just wanted to go in and answer the phone and go home. And they didn't have any kind of I need to have a startup. I need to have my life fulfilled by this job. So I wonder if...
Well, I did that when Vivian was in kindergarten. I was looking for a job and I got a job, and that it was that kind of a job. It was an office job where I was doing clerical work, and it was in and out, and there was no thinking about it at home. And that was my dream at the time. Not my dream, but that's the kind of job that I wanted. I wanted something where I was making money and could just close the door on it at the end of the day, that it wasn't something that I was thinking about all the time.
Right.
So that, because I'm thinking about my kids all the time and dealing with my kids' activities and stuff all the time, I wanted to keep that going, but have that be just, it's a purely money job. I know why I'm there. It's just to make money, to have that security, that financial security, and then nothing else. And there is a big appeal to that, I think, in a lot of ways.
There is a big appeal.
We all had jobs like that. Like, I've definitely had a couple of jobs where you're like, I'm doing this because I need to.
Yeah.
But I could care less what happens one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like, you go in, you do it, you leave, and that's it.
Well, I
It's not
have
bad,
too, but it was always to support something else. Like, I worked in college to pay my way through college. And I worked when I first moved to Hollywood so that I could write. I worked minimal hours for maximum money so that I could write. So one was supporting the other. I don't know that I've ever had a time in my life where I just worked a job to work that job. Do you know what I mean? Like someone who I not to put any words in anybody's mouth, but I just chaperoned a Girl Scout troop meeting with another mom, and I asked her what she does, and she works for like a motorcycle helmet company where she just she sources motorcycle helmets from overseas, and then she distributes them for this company. And it's clearly a job that she goes to, and she works, and she goes home. And she has 2 kids, and she has family obligations. She has a full life, right? But that's her. She's not trying. She has no side hustle. Mm-hmm. I've never had a job without a side hustle. I've always been hustling. So I think for me, that's the norm. Yeah. But clearly that's not the norm. You know, most people in America work a job so that they can pay their bills, and it's not a career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like driving a tow truck, or, you know, that clearly, maybe that's someone's dream job, perhaps. I'm sure for some people it would be. But for some people, it's just a job, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess there's something, maybe that was not how I'm wired. I've never been able to just stay on one thing ever. But sometimes that sounds really nice. To just go to a job and go home. Sounds really nice.
Yeah, and when you talked about what you got from the 4-hour work week of compartmentalizing different times of the day and days, that's a good way to compartmentalize your life. That it's like, well, I go to my job from these hours, and then you know that the rest of the hours are blocked off for something else.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was an interesting comment. I really appreciated it because, you know, we all only have our own worlds. And sometimes we forget to look outside of that. And I don't ever want to forget. I don't ever mean to forget, but it's part of, you know, it's part of how people are. And some of the worlds we can't relate to. I could never relate to growing up in an inner city in poverty. I didn't grow up like that. So, you know, just with, I guess no one in my life, no one ever had a job just to have a job. I mean, like my 2 aunts who I was close to, they were career nurse and teachers. Like, they're early, stay late, complete passion, take every single supplemental class, go above and beyond. My dad was so passionate about cars and mechanics, owned his own shop, was constantly learning and improving. So, not that you don't learn and improve when you're in a regular job, but I think it's a different mindset, right? Yeah. Just to be like, I'm going to go and earn a paycheck and do an excellent job at that job. And then I'm going to close the door and go home and do an excellent job at home or whatever. You know, I don't know. Interesting concept. Yeah. Anybody in your lives that just works a job just to work?
My mom did for a long time, actually.
Yeah.
Like after she retired, like she's bored at home alone. So she worked retail, but I don't know. I mean, she didn't need to work it. She wanted to.
Yeah.
but you would think that it was her career.
You would think that it was her career.
She did not leave. She did not leave Walmart at Walmart. Let me say,
she took it seriously.
Oh, more than you could possibly imagine.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Are you kidding? You've met her. You know.
I know Connie well,
Yes.
pretty well.
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I feel like she's actually had a bunch of jobs just to have jobs. Like,
Oh yeah.
I think so. I mean, she, was a stay-at-home mom forever. And then she went, she started volunteering at school, and then that turned into a job. And then she got a job at the local library because she loved it. But like, I don't think we needed to have that.
Right.
Like, we certainly weren't wealthy, but like, I don't think she had to work. It wasn't going to make or break us.
Right.
Yeah. I think she just likes to be busy.
Right.
So
To have a purpose, sort of.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the same thing, because she always took everything pretty seriously.
Right.
So I'm not sure it was just a job for a job, but
She needed a purpose.
yeah.
Sounded like, other than you children, you blood-sucking leech children that we all have. No.
That is true.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think I had a job once that was just a job, I guess.
And nothing else going on. No other.
Well, no, see, that's not true. So I worked as a hostess / assistant manager in a restaurant when I was in grad school. And then when I finished grad school, I started my career. And then the restaurant had like 5 locations around Boston. A very good friend of ours was a manager, and he's like, I need somebody to come work for me in a different location than what I had worked at originally. So I went back to work, even though I had a full-time job.
Right.
So because they were like, I need somebody who's already gets it and knows it and whatever. So I worked for like another year and a half at this
Wow.
other location. But I still had, like, it was fun. I had a great time doing it, but it was just a job at that point.
Right.
It was not supporting me
Right.
because I was working full time.
Right.
So I don't know if that's the same kind of thing, but
I don't know.
I don't know. It sounds like
Yeah.
the comment was more about having
Yeah.
like a career job, but it's
Be
you
that-
don't think about it in the term of career, what I'm doing for my career, how I'm driving this career.
Right.
But
It's
more
just-
that I like that, I need a job because I need money to pay for my rent or food,
Because having a
But
job is a
just
normal
to
part of
support
life.
myself, like,
Yeah.
Right.
But that it's not something that's a passion project. It's not like, oh, I'm an artist and I always wanted to do this, or oh, I'm a
yeah.
Well, it's hard because we live in Hollywood. So everyone comes out here, just about everybody comes out here in pursuit of a dream, right? Of a dream job as a writer, an actress, a musician, a producer, director, hotshot, in some capacity. I know you didn't move out here for that, Cathy.
To be a mom.
But
I mean,
yeah,
really.
you're right. Because getting pregnant in California is so much easier. No, but Stephen came out here.
Yes, that's true.
In pursuit of that.
Yes, we followed his dream, not mine. But
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But so when you step outside of Hollywood, right, and you go back to my hometown, people their dream is to have a steady job that lasts for a long time. Like I have a cousin who finally got a job. Not finally got a job. He's worked always, but he got like his dream job was working for the school system. So he's in like maintenance for the school system, which is a really secure job, excellent benefits, doable hours, and he likes the people he works with. Super excited, really happy. For him, that's his dream job. Like he goes to work, he goes home, and he knows he's got a job the next day, and he knows what that job's about, and he knows what's expected of him, and he knows the minimum, and that he can do, and he knows the maximum, and that's really what it is for him. It really is his dream job, I think. I think he's been looking for this type of job for a long time, and it's, it's I don't want to say it's just a job. That sounds terrible, but it's like, it's not like a dream. No, I don't think kids go, I can't wait to be in maintenance at a school system,
Right.
But
Right.
the dream is about what that gives him, gives him benefits and stability and a good work environment, like that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, that's interesting. I think you may be right about that. Like when I think about my cousins back in Maine,
yeah.
I think it's the same thing. They all have jobs that they've worked at for 20, 25 years,
Yeah.
whatever, and they're happy.
Uh-huh.
but I think it probably is just a job. Like they've all, they go up the ladder or whatever, but did they ever set out for that? Was that a career? I don't think so, but it pays the bills. It's fine. They're happy with it. Mm-hmm. It's a different mentality, I think.
It is a different mentality, a different expectation. Yeah. I wonder what makes the wiring different, because like I said, even in my family, even from that same small town, my cousin grew up the same town that my dad and his two sisters, who have always been really ambitious with their careers. Now they have a brother who, my uncle, who I think more just wanted a steady work, not necessarily to build something. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I wonder what makes the difference. What makes the difference in a person? Because I grew up partly in that small town too, but my mother was very ambitious and my dad was very ambitious. And my dad's ambition was to be a mechanic and own his own shop. It wasn't like he wanted to be the CEO of GM. He wanted to own his own shop in our local hometown, and he did it. But that's a different thing than showing up to a local mechanic shop, punching your clock, and going home.
15 years.
Yeah, it's a different drive. I wonder what makes them different. Why there's a difference. Is it just disposition, personality? Is it environmental? Is it?
So I think it's both.
Self-esteem? Is it? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's probably a mix of everything. It's probably a lot easier for somebody who is raised with huge self-esteem and in a wealthy environment and, with everything at their disposal. It's probably easier for them to think in terms of dreaming and what's my ideal, simply because you don't have to struggle for it. But at the same time, I don't know. I think it's in the same way that like your first child has a different disposition than your second child, or, there's just so many different things that sort of shape
who you are.
Yeah, who you are and how you look at the world. And
I don't know about the being privileged, and I don't know that has. I don't know about that, because I don't think it makes all the difference, but no. I just mean that I don't mean that privileged people are necessarily going to do better things with their lives, but just in the same way that if your dad didn't come from privilege, that you can still have ambition. You can actually have more ambition if you don't come from privilege, but it doesn't mean that you want to be an entrepreneur. That's just from his own unique disposition. Right. Probably. I wonder what the gardener's disposition is, because he has shown up with the blower right outside the door. Disposition, grumpy. Disposition, don't listen to authority. Disposition, want my paycheck from cutting half a tree down.
Half the job.
He's making my disposition ornery. Blowing this damn thing every time. Stupid thing. They can hear it, can't they, Halston, on the podcast? Oh yeah, they can hear it. Yeah, of course, because he gets right at the damn door.
Those things are loud too.
They're so loud. Yeah. He needs to go old school, and he's blowing my chicken coop. There's a chicken on the nest. He's totally. Oh my God. Poor Charlotte. She's like in a windstorm.
No wonder.
Right? She's like, look, she just came out. She was like, fuck this. I am out.
Her feathers are literally ruffled.
I will cross my legs until this man leaves. I am not laying an egg on these conditions. Look, he's going to come knock on the door. He's going to come knock on the door. Oh, no, he's not. Okay, good.
Oh, boy.
I wonder what his ambitions were when he got out of high school. I mean, I don't know. I know he worked in a nursery for a long time, like a plant nursery.
Yeah.
Not a baby nursery. Anyway, I don't know. I think we've been talking about jobs over the past, inadvertently and directly, about careers and jobs over the past several episodes, because I did one with Margaret and Kathy feels the same way as this Kathy does. Like, kids are almost gone. What do I do now? Right. And Kathy, I think,
she's got a full-time job.
She has a full-time job that I believe she said this. I don't want to put words in her mouth either, that she kind of fell into and is a good fit for her. But is it like my dream come true. I don't know if it's her dream come true job. And I wonder if sometimes I wonder if it's hard to see. I just started a blog and now I'm worth $1 million. I just created spreadable granola and now I'm worth $1 million. To just think that is possible for everybody, when really it's not possible for everybody. Although some form of a dream may be possible for everybody. I wonder, because I think about that too with all these YouTubers who are making $1 million for what? For putting makeup on in front of a camera?
Right.
Yeah.
You know that one woman that cuts open like squishy balls? Have you seen this idiot? Oh,
No.
sorry, I shouldn't say that. This person that just cuts things open on camera, and she talks in a baby voice, and she has like 3 million followers. People who sit there and watch her cut shit open.
Because our culture is stupid.
I guess.
Like, no, I've not seen that.
You haven't?
No.
That's all she does. You know those squishy balls where
Yeah.
you put stuff inside them? There's like, it's full of unicorns. So she'll cut them open and like just pull them apart. And Isla is watching this.
It's like self-destruction.
And she's talking. And she talks and baby talk. Oh, look at the little unicorn. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, shoot me. Someone shoot me.
Oh my
I feel
God.
my brain turning to jelly as I'm watching this. My IQ points are plummeting watching
Wow.
this. But like 3 million people or something crazy like that. So crazy.
Wow.
Right? So if I am a young person watching that person cut shit up on YouTube for 3 million followers, making $1 gazillion. I mean, we just went to dinner with some people who are YouTubers. They were making $100,000 a month from their YouTube channel. I mean, what? And this,
I think, yeah.
I mean, what?
No, that sort of thing makes you think, where have I gone wrong in my life? What am I doing?
You know what? It also makes me think I'm scared for my kids who are
Yeah.
growing up watching this going, oh, I don't need college. I'm just going to go be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No
Yeah.
fucking way you're not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's, YouTube isn't even going to exist then, and nobody, everybody will
something
have
else will,
done. No,
you
exactly,
know,
but
but-
everybody will have done all of the stupid things, all of the cutting open of squishies by then. It's not like this
There'll be-
isn't a career
yeah.
path for you.
There'll be something new.
There will
But,
be
like,
something new,
It
yeah.
is terrifying to think,
Yeah.
like, this is your way, this is your path. I'm like, that's not a realistic path.
Or
that's
that
a
this
random, like, luck of the draw.
It is a bit of a luck of the draw. And that's the standard. Like when my dad got out of school, here was the standard: accountant, doctor, lawyer, mechanic, nurse, teacher, professor, like job sort of. That's not really a job to be a YouTuber. I mean, it is a job. I don't want to say that, but it is a job, but there's no path to it. So there's no if you go to school and you take the classes in accounting and you graduate as an accountant
Yeah.
and you pass the test as an accountant, you can hang your shingle and be an accountant.
Right.
You can do everything. Same steps as this YouTube channel that has $100,000 a month and get nothing.
Right.
And get nothing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And that I was listening on NPR today about this professor has written a book called I'm never going to remember the name of it, but it's about coddling, the coddling of American youth, something like that. He's a college professor, and all this kind of microaggression stuff that's happening where he said I heard in his interview, he said, I showed this class a picture. We were talking about sirens, mermaids, and I showed them a picture drawn from hundreds of years ago, and the sirens are all topless because that's how they were always portrayed. And he said, I got vengeful emails about this from students of how they were offended and how this was sexist, and this was, all these things that he was like, no, actually, I'm just talking about art that was made hundreds of years ago as it relates to what we're studying now and trying to weave something for you guys. But America has been coddled. American kids since the 90s have been coddled such that they don't know how to, they don't have any metal. They can't muscle through anything that makes them uncomfortable. Their uncomfortable is the important thing. So they focus on their uncomfortableness as opposed to, that makes me uncomfortable, but what's the bigger picture? what are they trying to say really? How does this relate to what he's teaching? He's clearly not standing in class to show me boobies. Because if he's going to show me boobies, we just open a Playboy. Clearly, you know?
Yeah.
There was a purpose to that. And that art, by the way, is beautiful to some people. So now does he stop showing that picture because he's going to offend somebody and make them uncomfortable? I don't know. And how does...
Now, I think the hard part too is, I don't even know if maybe it's a little bit worse, maybe not. When you present the class with, just so you know, you may see something offensive in this class.
Yeah.
Like that's the caveat. And you're like, so now he's got to go back and, you know, put that, what I forget what the word is, like open space, or just like let everybody know this is a safe space or this may offend you.
Right.
So if you need to leave, go right ahead.
Disclaimer, life is going to offend you.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Oh, what's the book called, Austin?
I texted it to you. It's a really long title.
Oh, it's a really long title. I didn't get your text.
Coddling of the American Mind.
The Coddling of the American Mind.
How good intentions and bad ideas are setting up a generation.
Oh, geez, that's too
Oh my
long.
God, that is a long title.
Let's just stick with The Coddling of the American Mind by
Dot, dot,
Greg
dot.
Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt. And Jonathan was the one that was on NPR today. I'll put a link to it on my website. But I don't know that I'm going to read it, but I just thought what he was saying was really fascinating. And to relate it to getting a job, if kids are thinking, well, what's happening on YouTube is the norm, and you can't go through these uncomfortable times of I'm waiting tables at a restaurant where I have to, you know, push my boobs on a guy to get served, then not that you have to do that, but that you have to be a fake patient at UCLA so that you can act, so that, you know, you can do things that make you uncomfortable, because that's part of life. And sometimes you don't have a 6-figure job when you graduate from college. In fact, most of the time you don't.
Right.
But if this YouTuber is cutting shit up and making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, what message are the kids getting? You know, what are they supposed to think?
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Especially like, I don't know, we've got kids going to college very soon.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is terrifying.
At the same time, it's hard to know what to tell them to do, because getting a degree is no longer a path to getting a job.
Not necessarily,
That's true,
no. If you're a doctor,
Right.
Right. There's certain
But-
things that are guaranteed. You have to have that degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much out there.
yep. It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So on that podcast with Cathy and Margaret was talking about this test that her neighbor had taken. Not a career test, but she's later found the test. It's an aptitude test. She was explaining this to me a couple days ago. I guess it is a test that was developed by IBM, or IBM had developed. Some psychologists developed the actual test, where you have 4 half-day sessions where they give you stuff to do, like 2-dimensional puzzles, 3-dimensional puzzles, question and answer about stuff, conversation about stuff. And at the end of the 4 days, the psychologists, I think multiple psychologists run the test with you. They kind of tell you what your aptitude is. You're really good with people. You're really good with your hands and building things. You're very highly organized, or whatever your aptitude is. And to start from that place when you start thinking about a career. And the example she used was her friend that told her about this was really interested in being a psychologist. But he took this aptitude testing when he was like a senior in high school. And that testing showed him to be really good with music and really good with his hands. But he decided to follow what he was interested in, which was psychology. And he became a psychologist, and he practiced for a while, and he got really bored. So he went back to those test results, and he thought to himself, you know, I do love music, and I like building like soundboards a lot. I like sound engineer stuff way better than I thought I would. So he changed his career entirely and became this person that like builds sound engineering type rooms and recording studios, and is so happy, and it's just so natural to him because it fits his aptitude, not necessarily his interest. I wonder if that to me is an interesting thing to explore as a person, because I look at my two children who have totally different aptitudes and some similar interests, and I go, well, one of you would be amazing at that, the other one would probably be fine. And as long as you're happy, I guess is all that really matters. But I'm interested in that aptitude testing thing.
Me too.
I think I may go have my. They said what the man told Margaret was that at 14 your aptitude's sort of set, so you can take this test anytime after you're 14. So I was thinking about going with Georgia and us doing it together because I'd love to know what my aptitudes are.
Where do they do this test? Like
somewhere here locally.
You have to go to a place?
Yeah, you have to go to a place. So maybe next summer when we're out of school, we'll go 4 days in a row. And I mean, I don't really want to wait till summer, but if maybe they
break.
I know, right? Maybe they can do it over the course of 4 weekends, like half a day each weekend on a Saturday or something. But I'll have to call and find out. But I'm really fascinated by that because I don't know that everybody has the aptitude to be a YouTuber. Right. You know, not everybody has that aptitude. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd love to do that.
Well, come do it with us. We could all do it and talk about it on a podcast. Along with I reached out to Jair to see if he would come back, and he said he would.
Awesome.
Great. So I'm gonna see. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to him further about coming back and see who wants to do his testing and talk about it, which was really fascinating. But I wish I believed, and I don't believe this, but I wish the future of careers and jobs were based on aptitude, like that we could have some kind of turn or shift back to the way it kind of was more when I was young, when kids went to vocational school and it was okay, acceptable, encouraged to be a plumber or an electrician or a builder or, you know, something like that. I don't feel like maybe it is encouraged in other places.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not. It's hard to sort of look outside of your bubble on that. Because maybe there are places that still encourage that. I think it's great and it's necessary. And it's also really, you can make a lot of money like as an electrician. Yeah,
you do. Yeah, my boyfriend from high school is an electrician. He's retiring next year. And he's my age. I mean, he'll be 50 next year.
It's a highly skilled job.
Highly skilled.
Yeah.
Plumbing also.
Yeah.
Highly skilled job, and they deserve the money they get.
And in demand.
Yeah.
Because nobody's doing it because you're either a college graduate or a loser, and that's not true.
Right. Yeah.
It's not true, but that seems to be the mentality. Even in my high school, I know I've said this a million times, but they used to bus kids to vocational school during high school. So like after first period, they go to vocational school and learn a trade. But they don't do that anymore. You can only do that on your own dime, on your own time.
Yeah, I wonder if my high school does that. We had a vocational school in our high school. I wonder if that's still there. I'm not sure.
Van Nuys High School here has some vocational classes in their high school.
We had like an auto body shop, like a mechanic's shop.
Yeah, so
Our high school wasn't big enough for that. I mean, we only had about 60 or 70 kids per grade.
Oh, wow.
So they would bus to the county had one vocational school that all these small town schools would bus those kids to so that they, had enough kids to teach a full class.
That was my high school. It was like the hub.
Was the hub?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I just think that is really a shame that they don't do that anymore in education, even in LA. I mean, everywhere. There's so many people who are born and raised in LA who are not here to be dream seekers.
Yeah.
They're here to work a job, just like we were talking about, and that's not offered for them either. Van Nuys High School, I was so impressed with that high school because they had a mechanic, like a mechanic shop, like shop class. They had woodworking. They had flower arranging. What an amazing job!
That's cool.
To get out of school and just get a job arranging flowers. I'm sure you're not going to buy $1 million house while you're arranging flowers, but it's a great job.
But who knows? Maybe
don't
you
know.
become an Instagrammer, a famous flower arranging Instagrammer, and
See, now you're going back into that YouTuber. As you're going back in the YouTuber, Kirsten.
but having a skill,
yeah.
a skill that
Yes.
you then do that is different than cutting open. I mean, I guess cutting open.
There's no skill. Don't try.
There's no skill.
She knows the right scissors to buy.
She uses
And she
the
does
right
always
baby
have her
voice.
nails done.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, with $100,000 a month, I'd have my nails done too.
Me too, right?
Seriously.
Just sit for 15 minutes and
I'd
play with
step
goop.
it up
Right?
for that.
Right, we could all step it up for that. I could hire 2 or 3 maids that don't clean well, right? And then between the 3 of them, they'd get that toothpaste off that one glass. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could be a flower arranger and become maybe an event planner or
Or an entrepreneur,
that's
own your
fairly
own place.
skilled.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, that's not,
there should be more of that, don't you think?
I do, actually.
I do too.
I think the drive to go to college is really hard on kids.
Yeah, it is.
Not everyone is made to go to college. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's not.
But
I have a kid who I wouldn't be surprised if Isla said, I'm not going to college. And I'm actually fine with that. As long as she had a focus. I don't care what the focus would be. I don't care if she wants to work at the zoo. Bert keeps going, my kid's not working at the zoo. And I'm like, you know what? If she is so good with animals that if that's really what she wanted to do, why not?
Absolutely.
You know, she'd be so fulfilled. And, you know, she probably won't choose that. That's something a child thinks would be amazing. And then when you're really scooping elephant turds, you're like, maybe not. But, you know, if she decided to be in the art department in a film studio, does she really need a degree for that? She has such an aptitude for that.
or like
you know?
even like I could see her being at a zoo, you know, and just working her way up, and in 20 years going, you know what? In order for me to run this zoo, I have to go back to college, and doing it then when she's ready.
I wouldn't be
Do you know what I
surprised
mean? Do you
either,
know how
yeah.
many people do that?
Yeah, a lot of
they
people,
just
yeah.
start out and then eventually
They go
when
back.
they're ready.
Yeah.
I know, it
I
is
could totally see
amazing
that.
how many
Me
people
too.
in their 40s and 50s I know who are currently in college or just
Yeah.
graduated.
It's pretty cool.
Crazy. Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
I from time to time wonder if I should go back and just finish. I never graduated college, just to have a degree. But I don't really want a degree. And I don't want a degree in what I would graduate. So I'm like, well, no, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But
What would your degree be in?
I would have to choose. I spent the first 2 years in college studying psychology. I wanted to be a high school guidance counselor. And then really bad things happened my sophomore year. You know, my dad divorced, and the date rape happened in my sophomore year. So everything kind of shut down, and I was drinking so excessively that I couldn't stay at that school. I had to transfer schools. That was my only hope. So when I transferred schools, I went to Georgia State University so I could live with my mom while I went to school, because that's the only way I could afford to go to school. I was like part on a Pell Grant because I had single parents, and I worked my ass off, and I had student loans, and my dad helped me some. So I was just kind of piecemealing being able to pay for college. So I had to go somewhere I could live with my mom. And I hated their psychology department. The psychology department at my first college was very, they had a whole like section on the supernatural. So they were not very clinical. They were very cognitive behavioral therapy focused, and very kind of like, what's your life experience and how does that affect your behavior, which I was really interested in. But when I transferred schools, it was very clinical, and I didn't like it. I was like, I don't have any interest in this at all. So because I scored the exact same on my SATs for English and math, like the same number, I was really good in math was really easy. I changed to finance because I thought, I'll just get out of it. I'll just get out of school. And I thought I was dying. Because I had no interest in doing anything in finance. I really chose that for my mom because my mom really wanted me to be like a real estate mogul. And I was like, well, then I should maybe, I was listening to her still at that time. So, and the psychology, she thought I was an idiot for wanting to be a high school guidance counselor, that was the dumbest thing ever. So, I was so broken by the time I left that sophomore year in college. I was in such a mess that I was grasping at anything, at any kind of acceptance or love or encouragement from an adult. So I went into finance and I hated it. I made terrible grades because I hated it. And my fourth year, I still had a year left because I had changed my major. I said, fuck it, move to New York City. I got to get out of here. I'm dying here. So I left without graduating.
Wow. So I know you're not going to go back and do this, but you would be such a great school guidance counselor now, wouldn't she?
Yes. I loved it. I loved my high school guidance counselor. Her name was Jan Johnson, and I loved her. And she didn't really help me much, but for whatever reason, I didn't go to her for help, but I just knew she was there, and she was just this like warm spot in the school, and I needed that. So, and even though my stuff with my dad at the time I thought was fine, because I was super happy to be with him and not with my mom, that I just thought, I want to do that. Like, I like that job. I like that she dealt with so many different aspects of a student, emotional problems, educational problems, where to go to college, do you go to technical school instead of college, decision making, planning. I just liked every aspect of what she did. So I thought, well, that's what I want to do for a living. And I was like, I had a 4.0 average my entire freshman year. I was in an honor society. I was doing great. And then sophomore year, whooped my ass. Just whooped it. It was awful for stuff that had nothing to do with education, which really stinks. So I think I just really got sidetracked in my path. So, which is now in retrospect is okay because I'm here and I like my life. I'm super happy. But I do sometimes wish I had my psychology degree. And, it would take me, I already looked into this. I could go back to CSUN and get my degree. It would take me, I think it's something like 5 semesters to finish everything because there's some requirements in the state of California. Obviously, I was in Georgia, that I had like 2 or 3 requirements I'd have to do for California.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it would be focused on my degree. So, I could do it, but
that's not much.
It's not that much. Don't look at me like that.
There's probably also an online version, online way to do it.
There is.
Don't have to show up.
Oh, I already looked into all of it. For 2 of the 3 California requirements, I could do them online through Pasadena Community College or City College or whatever it's called, PCC, and then transfer to CSUN for the psychology stuff. But the psychology stuff I'd really want to do at Cal State Long Beach because they have a better psychology program. And who's driving to Long Beach from here, from the Valley on the reg? Not me. So I was like, whatever. I'll just start a podcast. It's almost the same.
It's very similar.
It's the same. I'll give myself a degree. Professional podcaster. I don't know. Maybe.
And I'll go on YouTube.
I know, right? And I'll go on YouTube and make $100,000 a month. And who needs to be a psychologist?
Yeah, you're on YouTube now. So
Right.
I am on YouTube.
I mean, we're
don't be
about to be on
knocking it.
YouTube with the podcast party. So
I know.
I mean,
You're on YouTube on my podcast.
I'm just going to
duh.
call myself a YouTuber from now on.
You are so YouTubey. You are YouTubey. Now, when you were in school, did you just want to be an actor? How did you come to that?
No, I 100%. I always wanted to. When I was a kid, I always wanted to. I was always putting on plays at home. I took dance class. I sang. I was in the plays at school. Yeah, it was just, I always knew it.
So now, but you're not acting now.
I'm not. So in high school, I knew that I wanted to do that, but it was also sort of an expectation that I get my degree. And so I fast tracked my bachelor's degree and did it in 2 years.
Whoa.
I did it like every semester. So all summer long. And, just so that I could get out the door and to New York. And I went to theater school there. And, then when I finished that, I moved here. And I was acting and I was supporting myself, and just in small things, little couple of lines on a TV show, a couple of lines in a movie, just, you know, doing that road and auditioning a lot, a couple of commercials, a lot of plays. And I was happy, and I got married, and lots of crazy jobs. You know, I typed out my whole list of the crazy jobs that I had. Lots and lots of survival jobs. But then when I got pregnant with my first daughter, I literally we were sitting watching TV one night, and I turned to Richard and just said, I'm done. And he was like, what are you done with? Like,
you want a divorce? What?
No. I was like, oh no, I'm done acting. And he went, oh, well, is it because you're showing, and, you know, you can audit, like, there's still lots of commercials for pregnant women and whatever. And he's like, you can, you know, take some time after the baby and get back into it. And I was like, no, I feel complete.
Wow.
I just felt done. And I mean, ironically, I have acted since then, a very small amount, just because Richard was producing a movie and I got to know the director, and he was like, oh, we have to have you in this and whatever. So I've done a tiny little bit since then, but yeah, and I wasn't done. I didn't feel done in terms of like, oh, I no longer had passion for acting. I still loved that. And when I got an opportunity to do it, I really enjoyed it. But I was done with all of the hustle.
Right.
I was just 100% done with the hustle, 100% done with, I mean, talking about headshots. Oh my God. The talking about headshots,
yeah, the business of the business.
The business of it, the sitting in auditions with a ton of different women who look like some variation on you, and the sort of, you know, sizing each other up and all of this. I was just like, I can't do it.
You're done.
I'm done. Yeah. And I really haven't looked back at all. I mean, done a couple little things, but not putting it out there like
right.
at all. And I do feel complete. I don't feel any.
This is amazing.
That's good though.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is?
Yes, yeah. I think that's amazing because so many people don't ever come to that place. Long time ago, Bert and I had this conversation about bravery. I was like, you know what? I think it is really brave to realize your path is changing and to go, okay, it's time to change. There's so many people in Hollywood who don't realize that it's time for the path to change. It doesn't mean that was wasted. It doesn't mean that was for nothing. It doesn't mean anything other than, oh, there's a fork in the road. I can either keep going or I can take a right. And I'm going to choose to take a right. Because so many people choose to keep going down the road, and the road doesn't give them joy. That's the problem. You march down that road all day long if it gives you joy. But if you find yourself in turmoil, in dire straits, in financial ruin, is that really your path? I believe that the good Lord makes things easy. They should be, not that everything's easy, but there's a path, there's an effortlessness even in the difficulty of something when you're on the right path. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like even if it's hard work, there's an effortlessness to the hard work.
Yes, or a joy to the hard work.
Or a joy. Right. There's a filling of self somehow instead of a depleting of self. And I'm not saying that you were going down this negative path of acting, but to be able to have that self-awareness to say, no, actually, I'm going to take the right-hand road now, and I feel good about that. That's really powerful. Really amazing.
That's, I didn't really, it wasn't a dramatic moment. It wasn't like, oh my God.
But it doesn't have to be.
Something has shown itself to me. But yeah, I appreciate that.
No, it doesn't have to be. But it's really brave. I think it's really brave to live in the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of to live in the dream. So if I came out here to be an actor, damn it, I'm going to be an actor instead.
No matter what.
No matter what. I came out here to be an actor. And I went to a meeting at an agency that was pretty big that my acting teacher in New York, I studied Meisner in New York, had set up this meeting because he really believed in me. And in the meeting, that agent, really big agent, said to me, you have a choice to make. I was same height I am now, was 108 pounds.
Oh my God.
And he goes, you can either stop eating lunch, start smoking cigarettes, drop about 10 pounds, or you can be the fat best friend. You need to decide. And I went, I'm going to decide to write. I'm going to decide this is not the town for me as an actress.
108 pounds, you must have been so skinny.
I was tiny.
Yeah.
But to lose 10 more pounds, I would have been under 100 pounds. Yeah. And in that moment, I thought, I'm not in the right place. So I kicked around for a little while longer as an actress, and I had a relationship with someone who put me in a couple things she did, and I had a relationship with another guy who put me in some plays that he did, and I just let it fade off and focused on writing because I thought, this is not my path. That was my path in New York, but that's not my path now. If I'm going to stay here, I need to make a different choice. And I never really look back much either. I don't ever pine to act. I do pine to write sometimes.
Yes, me too.
But I don't ever go, God, I wish I was shooting headshots. I hate shooting headshots.
Oh my God. All of the talking about that, if I wander into a conversation with friends who are still actors who are talking about any of that, I mean, I literally...
Turn the other
way. I feel a gag
Glaze
reflex.
over.
Like it's
gag reflex.
So gross to me. I mean, I was in a long relationship with a guy who was an actor, and I remember coming home one day with headshots all laid out, taken up. We were house sitting, and so it was like a big living room. Headshots laid out throughout the whole thing. There were wigs. There was all this stuff because he was like, he wanted to go for like another look. He had short hair at the time, but he wanted to go for a long-haired look in some other headshots.
Oh
he was analyzing, doing like a full-scale analysis of all the headshots he'd ever had taken, and then all the potential looks. And I was just like, I can't do this. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm embarrassed sometimes to tell people that I ever studied acting because I think people have such a negative connotation. It was a wonderful thing to study. It was amazing. I learned so much about myself and human behavior. It was almost like psychology. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I feel like so many people think, oh, she was an actress? There's so much more to being an actress than what people think. It's not all pursuit of fame and fortune. Sometimes it's a pursuit of knowledge, I think. For me, it was a pursuit of knowledge. Yeah. And an expression of knowledge.
Well, for me, some of the job dilemmas that I'm having now, and the reason that I sort of waffle so much about what do I really want to do, one of the things I got out of acting was the trying on of different lives and different experiences, and that's something that you can't get when you commit to one career path. That was something where it's like, okay, great, let's see what it's like to be a teacher, let's see what it's like to be this, let's see what it's like, and then all of the little jobs like to support yourself are also like forays into those worlds. So you're just trying on all of these things all the time, and it's stressful in the sense that there isn't the security of just that one job or that one career, but really enlightening and just enriching to just try on all that stuff.
I agree. It's ripe with learning. There's just so much you have to learn. Like you said, just to have the day jobs to support your dream. Yeah. I mean, I had so many. I've managed apartment buildings. I didn't know how to manage an apartment building. I did
that too.
You did? Shut up. I didn't know that. How many units did you have?
I'm going to get it wrong. It was under 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started with 39. Ended up with 138 at the end of it.
Yowza.
At 3 buildings. But I just answered an ad in the LA Times. I was like, I can bullshit my way into this job. No problem. I went into the interview, and the guy was like, any experience? I said, no, but I did build a house with my dad when I was young, so I have a little knowledge about, carpentry and whatever. This is before I was foremaning for a construction guy. And he was like, what do you think the most important thing is? And I said, I think it's important that you treat everybody in your apartment building like they are your guest in your home. And he went, you're hired. And I was like, yeah, I knew it. That's the key. Hospitality. That's what it is. Customer service. I stayed in that job for 10 years while I waited tables, worked for a caterer. I worked for a guy in construction. and wrote scripts all at the same. I never, during that time when I managed that apartment building, had less than 2 day jobs while writing. I was writing at the same time I was waiting tables and managing an apartment building. It was insanity. But that's 3 totally different worlds you have to learn, right?
Yeah.
Restaurant jobs are intense, and you have to learn a lot in that. Money, people skills, time organization. I think every single person that graduates high school should have to wait tables for 1 year because you just learn so much from waiting tables.
You know what? I never waited tables.
Oh, braggart.
No, but it's crazy. I think it's like I'm just an anomaly. I don't know how anyone can be an actor for so many years and not wait tables. I worked at restaurants and clubs, but I never, I had a million different little jobs, never waited tables.
Interesting.
It just didn't happen for me. And I remember even one of the places that I did work, I mentioned to the manager that I was interested in someday waiting tables, and then they just liked me more in different roles, and it never happened.
Never happened?
Yeah.
Maybe they thought you were klutzy. You'd fall. What was your favorite non-career job, Cathy?
My favorite? That's a good question. Probably working in the restaurant. It was so fun.
Yeah?
I had a blast working in actually both restaurants.
Well, you are very social.
It was super awesome.
Yeah. You're very friendly and social, and you talk to people, and you're
Yeah.
easy to talk to.
It was fast paced. It was always something different. It was always changing. There was always different people there. Yeah, it was super fun.
There's always a different problem, right?
Challenging. Yeah, there was always something new happening. Staffing issues, food issues. Like it was very interesting.
Huh.
I had a good time with that job.
That's cool. Yeah. What was your favorite non-career job?
The standardized patient, definitely.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my absolute favorite.
'Cause you're rubbing thighs all day long. Rubbing thighs, right?
One thigh.
All day long. That's all I see is all day. She's just rubbing thighs.
Oh my God.
I wonder what mine was. Let me think for a second. I had 2 come to mind, actually. One, when I was in college, a video store was opening up, and I got hired before they opened, and we had to literally, everything just showed up in boxes, so we had to assemble all the shelving and put all the displays and organize the store. At that time there was no like every store looks the same kind of or thought process. It was like late 80s, so we got to figure out what movies went where and how to display them. And I just remember cranking up music and just partying while assembling this movie store. Now, I don't think I worked there very long after it was open. I don't think I liked it after it was open. I ended up like getting a better job somewhere else with better hours for my school. But that part of that job was really fun. It was really fun. And then my other job, I worked at this restaurant here called Lowry's The Prime Rib. And for those of you,
Cienega.
Yes, I worked there for 2.5 years. It was a great money making job, and I had to wear this. We called it the brown gown. So their uniforms were modeled after. Well, first of all, the restaurant was open in the 40s. And their uniforms were modeled after the porter car girls on trains. So they're this like tight fitted, low cut, really fitted dress that has like an A-line skirt with a starched white collar, starched white cuffs around the sleeves, and a starched white apron with like a nurse's hat that was all starched. I had to wear pantyhose and white nurse's shoes, and my hair had to be in a French twist every day.
Oh my God.
They wanted you to look exactly like each other, and exactly their philosophy was someone who came here in the 40s should come back today and feel like you look the same. Red lipstick only, had to wear makeup to work. But I made like $50,000 a year working 20 hours a week. It was so fast paced. Wow. But at the same time I did that job, I sold Avon. And did I mention I was also managing an apartment building and writing screenplays at the same time? So I would keep my Avon catalog in my pocket, and I would just like shuffle them out to my other coworkers and go, let me know what you want from Avon. And then as the night comes on, they would just write a ticket for what they wanted from Avon and hand me their tickets. And then I'd go home and fill out all their order forms. I'd drive downtown and shop and buy all their Avon and then bag it up. And then I would leave it in the in our locker room, and then they would slide a check in my locker.
Oh my God.
And I had so much fun doing that. I didn't even use Avon, but these ladies loved it. A lot of ladies had been there for 20 years, 25 years. Like once you went to Lowry's, you usually didn't leave because it's like I called it the golden handcuff job. You made so much money working 20 hours a week, especially if you're married. 50 grand's a lot.
Yeah.
For just 20 hours a week, you could have a whole nother side hustle. So, which I had a couple. But that fast-paced, I really liked that fast-paced. So my non-career job, I liked that fast-paced job and the extremeness of like, we used to have to carry these trays. They were so big. I don't even know if I can, they were like, how big is that? Like 3 feet? They were like ovals, big 3 feet ovals. So we would have to get a plastic bowl with shaved ice. And in that plastic bowl, like a salad bowl, in that plastic salad bowl is a silver stainless steel salad bowl full of salad, plates for the salad, forks for the salad, and dressing. And you would have to go to the table. You'd have to carry this. They wouldn't let you use like a cart. I'd have to pick this big thing up and walk through the restaurant with it on my shoulder and then set it up on a tray stand. And I'd have to spin the bowl of salad. It was called Lowry's Famous Spinning Bowl Salad. So you spin the bowl on the ice and then you had to pour the dressing. But you couldn't just pour the dressing. You had to pour it from like your outstretched arm above your head. So you had to reach on your tippy toes is what they preferred and pour the dressing from as high up as you could reach from your tippy toes into the spinning salad bowl. And then you had to take the tongs and toss the salad while continually spinning the bowl. It was a skill set, let me tell you. And then you serve the salad tableside, right?
Wow.
It was a show. It was a friggin' show, the Lowry's Spinning Bowl Salad. And every single person got the salad. You don't order the salad. It comes with your meal. So every night I was spinning like 15, 20 salads a night. I was like, toss, spin, serve. It just was really fast paced.
Do you do that at dinner parties now?
You know, I should bring the brown gown back, but they made me turn it in. And the starching of the stuff, that was a skill set all in and of itself.
Did you have to do that yourself?
I was supposed to. I could never get the formula right. I couldn't get everything stiff enough. So I finally found one dry cleaner in all of LA, in Beverly Hills, one dry cleaner that would starch my stuff. So I'd bring it in, like I'd bring a bunch of them in. I think we had maybe 2 sets. So I'd have one at the cleaner while I was using the other one. Yeah. Wow. It was crazy. Anyway.
Do you want me to tell the story about when I almost did phone sex work?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's right. I forgot about that.
I told you were rubbing thighs all day. Yes. Please tell the story about when you almost did phone sex work.
Yes. So
this will be our big closer.
Okay. So this was one of my jobs, one of the things that I was applying for when I was acting, and I thought, it's just an acting job. Like I could just act this out. It's just on the phone.
It's method work. It's not Meisner, but it's method.
It's just on the phone. I'm not touching anybody. It's not. And I talked myself into this, and it happened to be literally like you have to park right in front of my job, the club job that I worked, to go to this building. It was in an office building. And I went up there, went into the room. It's just this giant room with all of these cubicles and everybody with a headset and on the phone. And I was like,
kidding.
Yeah, this is fine. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
I'm a grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is professional. And the guy, the manager, came out, and he was like just the stereotype of any movie. If you imagine a smarmy guy, it was like, for some reason, the button shirt that was unbuttoned with the chest hair and the chains and everything and the slick back hair. And so he walked me around to show me like everybody at their station, and they're working with their scripts. And I'm walking around, I'm like, okay, I can do this. It's going to be good. It's going to be fine.
Wait, there was a script?
I guess I didn't really get that far. Like I saw that they had binders with scripts. And
there are tabs like blowjob, oral sex. You give it to me, I give it to you. Anal. How bizarre!
Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed even you saying all of that. So
how did you think you were going to do this job?
I don't know.
So
I was just like, no, I can do this. It's a lot of money. It paid really well. And I thought, okay, I can do this. It's okay. I was also imagining that there was that movie, Spike Lee movie, Girl 6. And it was like all these all these girls who were doing this, but there was this bond, this solidarity. It was like they were getting through this together. And I was, it's like imagining boarding school after you read Jane Eyre. It's like,
right.
And so he said, okay, well, we're going to do an audition now. And I was like, oh, what? And he said, well, you sit down. He brought out a phone, and these were rotary phones. And he brought out a phone and said, now I want you, I'll pick up another end and you'll talk to me. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't do this. There's no way I can do this. I absolutely can't do this. And then somebody called him from another office. He had to go take a call, and he said, okay, just, sit tight. I'll be back in a second for the audition. And he walked away, and I just heard a voice in my head saying, run. I ran down out of the room, down the hall, into the elevator, and I'm in the elevator, and the door's closed, and I was like pushing the button, and then it opened on the next floor, and a guy who I worked with at my other job got on, and he was like, oh, hey, were you on the McDonald's audition too? I didn't see you there. Oh, that's great that you got, who's your agent now? And he's chatting me up about this. And I was just like, no, I wasn't at the McDonald's audition. And
just running, I'm running.
Oh, what were you doing? Oh, is there another casting company here? Well, what floor were you on or whatever? And I was like, I gotta go. And took off, made it to my car. And yeah,
okay,
that's my story.
That's
awesome.
Really funny. That's really funny.
It was just one of those times when I just sort of overestimated who I thought I could be, like my flexibility.
Yet you would not wait tables.
It wasn't that I wouldn't wait tables. Nobody would have me. It just didn't work out.
No one would have you? Oh, yeah. They would have. You're very nice, personable. Do you have any crazy interview stories like that, Cathy?
No,
me neither. No, mine were pretty standard.
Yeah.
No, never in my head did I go, run!
No, I did not run away from an interview.
That's really funny. Aw. Well, anything else on your list you want to discuss? Kirsten made a list of her odd jobs. Well, just read the list.
Well, they weren't all, it wasn't that they were all like...
Not odd, sorry.
Well,
you put the right adjective in.
No, I mean, the list. The title is Odd Jobs. It wasn't that the jobs in and of themselves were odd. It was more that the experience was. Some of them are odd. Like obviously, the standardized patient was weird. I was a stand-in for many years, which
I was a stand-in.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what that actually is, though. That it's
explain it. Really
they
quick.
hire actors to stand and do the motions to basically you watch on a film or a television set, you watch the actors rehearse and you memorize and you take notes of where they walk and when they sit, what line they sit on, and you go through that with the lighting department and so that they can light you. And so they usually hire somebody who looks just, they don't necessarily look just like, they're not like a double,
right.
But they hire somebody who is the same height and coloring as the actor, ideally. But then sometimes you end up getting, especially with day players and smaller parts, you end up standing in for whoever. So you go through that. And that was actually how I got my first TV jobs, because I ended up standing in for Dixie Carter.
Aww.
And who was great. She was so lovely.
I bet.
She was older and she was just too tired she didn't want to run all of the rehearsals. And it happened to be for this one episode when her character had just gone through something very traumatic and was on the stand and giving testimony. And so they had me do all of so sometimes, depending on the show that you're on, sometimes you end up doing the lines like for the director and actually acting the scene with the other actors. So it was like Tony Danza. I was doing a scene with Tony Danza. And
how cool.
I can't remember who else was in it. But it was a very dramatic scene. And so I was able to do it, and I was crying and everything. And Tony was like, afterwards, like, this was amazing. Oh. Why aren't you acting in the show? And I was like, I don't know. I'm the stand-in. And I ended up getting some parts.
On Designing Women?
No, it was on a show called Family Law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so I was a stand-in. I was a substitute teacher, but at 2 different schools, and one of them was an all-black school, and one of them was the Kabbalah Center.
Oh, wow.
Which is...
Jewish.
Yeah. And it was pretty serious. I mean, they told me when I got the job that because I'm not Jewish and not kosher, that I wasn't allowed to bring any food on the premises at all, and that they would feed me lunch and snack and everything, but that I wasn't allowed to bring
any food,
any of my filthy food.
It's so filthy. That's crazy. Yeah.
So I did that. I was an ESL tutor for Korean.
Do you speak Korean?
Immigrants. No. But we didn't have to be to do ESL. Actually, I ended up doing just basically going to Denny's with a couple, and what?
You just went to Denny's?
Just went to Denny's with these I had this one student who was
how did you teach them how to say moon over my hammy? How did you teach them how to say that? This is moon over my hammy. No, my hammy is not a real word.
That's actually exactly what the job was, though. So it was not moon over my hammy, but explaining humor and puns and wordplay, because there were these students who would come over from Korea and were doing grad school, say at UCLA, and then didn't were doing great in terms of the technical writing, but in their interpersonal relations and in terms of presenting anything, they were very dry because they just knew how to say, it was very textbook.
And perfunctory.
So I was hired to do, so it was literally was a lot of things like jokes and puns and explaining things and and just conversation, just talking. So we'd just go out for coffee or to Denny's, and my client had to do all the ordering and order for me. And when he was having challenges or whatever, I, try to help him out a little. And
interesting job.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked it.
What did you order at Denny's? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Moon over my hammy. The Grand Slam.
But I was probably explaining what a Grand Slam was, where the term came from, because literally it was stuff like that where so much would go over their heads.
Yeah, because cultural.
Yeah.
Grand Slams are definitely cultural. I have one every time my dad comes to visit. He's like, let's go to Denny's, because there's no Denny's in our hometown. He loves Denny's, so we always end up at Denny's at some point. But I've never had moon over my hammy. I just can't.
That you've
got to draw the line somewhere.
I'm telling you, I go there every time he comes. He loves Denny's. Yeah.
Yeah,
so step up from the Waffle House.
I have not been to Denny's in
I'm a giver.
decade.
I'm a giver. What else? What's your other job?
I don't know. They're not that interesting. I gave you my most interesting ones. I managed the apartment building, did coat check. I worked at the box office of a nightclub. I was a personal assistant, proofreading, nanny. Just some weird nannying stories, receptionist, those weren't in and of themselves interesting. It was more the crazy people that I worked for.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Cathy? What have you done?
Yeah, I feel like mine are all fairly similar. Babysitter, lifeguard, swim instructor. I worked a bunch of retail jobs, worked in a restaurant. I worked
retail. I forgot about the retail jobs.
An adult daycare center. Worked as a job coach for developmentally disabled adults.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. Worked as an EMT. Yeah.
That's cool.
It
was very cool, actually. yeah, it was awesome.
I bet that
actually.
was very rewarding.
It was very interesting. There were some amazing people that I got to work with. The agency I worked for actually had a gift shop that they ran, and so these adults would come from their group homes and they would work in this gift shop. Like never went out into the public, like at a supermarket or whatever.
Right.
Other people did that, but we would work in this gift shop. It was really like,
that's cool.
Folks who were blind, and they all had some sort of developmental disability.
Right.
Yeah, it was fascinating.
Wow.
It was very cool.
That's a great job.
I worked like part-time as I used to go into like adult group homes and like give out medication. Like this group home would the adults were high functioning enough where they didn't need staff all the time, but I would go in for like 2 hours and make sure things were okay and hand out medication and like random stuff like that. But
So you've always kind of been a caregiver.
yeah,
Interesting.
in most of the jobs. Yeah.
That's part of your aptitude. You have an
maybe.
aptitude for caregiving. That's really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, none of them are crazy. Crazy shit happened in pretty much all of the jobs, but
Well, I think that's true for just
yeah,
about
I think
everybody.
that is true. But like none of the jobs are super crazy. EMT is probably the craziest,
Right.
Because that's not super normal, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, I was a bookkeeper. I was a part runner for my dad. So I used to go pick up like transmissions and stuff. And then I drove his tow truck. I sold wedding gowns. Opened a video store. I worked in a bank as in the proof department, which was in the dungeon of the bank. So back in the day, before computers are what they are now, a person would like if you went to the teller and gave them a deposit, you have a deposit slip and a check or cash or whatever. I would get the deposit slip and the check, and I would have to read the deposit slip and read the check, and then I'd have to type in the amount on the deposit slip and then type in the amount on the check to make sure they balanced, and then run it through a machine. So I was the person that stamped the back of the check. You remember when you used to get your checks back in the mail a long time ago, and it was stamped on the back? That I was the person that actually made the transaction happen. So even though the teller did it, I actually did it. I worked that job for a while I was in school, but it was in a room with no windows. It was like a dungeon. And I was with 2 other women who had done that job for 108 years exactly. And I think one of them was like a mole. Like when she went outside, she was blind because she'd just been in this dungeon all the time. But I also worked in that same department of the bank, where the proof department would then give the checks to the people outside of the proof department, and those people would actually file the checks in your account file, and then at the end of every month I would take those checks out of that file and put them in an envelope with your statement and mail it to you. None of it was automated when I was in high school at the bank I worked at. So I did both of those jobs at the bank, which were really boring, but it was a fun group of women. I liked the group of women. And what else did I do? I was a personal assistant. I was an office manager. I was a waitress for a long time. I worked in catering. I sold Avon. Wrote screenplays. One got made, which was really cool.
That's great. Which one got made?
Yeah. It's terrible. I'm almost embarrassed to tell anybody about it. It's called The Biggest Fan. My writing partner and I wrote it together. I had a partner. And you can buy it on Amazon, but it's not the movie we wrote. They changed some really key pieces of it. And I was really bummed about that. We had written this little brother. The basic premise was, this girl is a really big fan of a boy band. Let's just say NSYNC. She's a really big fan of NSYNC, right? And she's not super popular at school, but everybody likes her, just not a super popular girl. And NSYNC is on tour, but Justin Timberlake is tired of the whole thing. So in the middle of the night, he gets really drunk and steals a tour bus and drives off into the night and crashes it in her backyard, goes in her back door, up the back stairs, and passes out in her bed. And she wakes up the next day and Justin Timberlake is in her bed. And she's like, what the fuck? Justin Timberlake's in my bed. And then he's like, I can't go back to the boy band. I need a break. We're on tour. I just need a break. and can you hide me? So she hides him, and like they dye his hair, and she takes him to high school. Aww. And then they become really good friends. Cute. And then of course the boy band's looking for him, and then she has this little brother who's 9. We wrote him as 9 on purpose. He was 9, and he was basically Hugh Hefner. Basically, they cast him as 14. And a 14-year-old Hugh Hefner is gross.
Creepy.
Yeah. A 9-year-old Hugh Hefner, he always rode a scooter, and he always had a good-looking blonde, like Playboy bunny 9-year-old on the back of a scooter. He was riding all around. He was always had these like awesome lines, and when the lines came out of a 14-year-old mouth, I was like, nails on a chalkboard, and then they added these 2 police officers we didn't write in the script. We were like, we never had these 2 police officers. Who put that in there? And that's terrible. Now the whole thing is terrible. So I was really disappointed. So of course, in our original script, of course he asked her to the prom, and of course the boy band finds him at the prom, and everyone at the prom now goes, oh my God, you're really Justin Timberlake. And he asked her to go on tour with him because they're really good friends, and she says, no, I'm gonna stay here and finish high school. You have a great life. This was really fun. And they stay good friends, right? Awesome story. Disney almost bought it. It went all the way up the whole ranks of Disney. At the very end, the president called our agent and was like, we just don't have room for it. We only have this many movies we can greenlight, and we've already greenlit, and we just don't have room. And we're like, shit. So we sold it to this other company, and they just changed it, and I hate it. But it was made.
But it got made. That's
it got made.
Huge.
Right.
There are professional writers who make a ton of money who have never had anything made before.
That's very true.
Very true.
It was made. And we had 3 other scripts that were optioned. They were all romantic comedies. That was the only one that was in the teenage romantic comedy genre. The rest of them were adult rom-coms.
Well, that's so cool.
But we wrote 8 scripts together in 2.5 years, 3 years. We were like machines.
Yeah.
I loved it. I really actually miss writing a lot. I loved being immersed in something. I was immersed. I wrote 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, and we just cranked shit out. So that one script got made, and as it was written, it was really good. I really liked it for what it was, for a teenage romantic comedy. I was so excited about all the characters and the story. It all just kind of worked, and in hindsight, I think we should have sat on it. I think we were so anxious to get something sold and made that we really sold it too fast. I think if we had just waited on it just a little bit, it would have found another home. But we just didn't. We were young and anxious and excited, and so whatever. Anyway, well, thanks for talking to me about your jobs. And thanks very much for doing the live podcast, because I know it was fun.
It was fun. It was very fun.
I'm glad you had fun. I had fun too. I always have fun, especially with my friends. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening.